This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with just 30 calories and no artificial sweeteners. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Okay, right here. It says right here in this account we have $401,000.
Jackpot.
Nope, that says you have a 401k account. If you liquidate that right now, you'll have, maybe $5,000.
So what happened to the other $396,000?
What is wrong with the two of you?
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and what a roller coaster ride the stock market has been on so far this year. After sinking at the end of last year, it went up a little bit and then back down, and then it went up a little and then back down again even more. Is this finally the long, slow slide bears have been warning us about? Heck, even Bitcoin is down. We'll dive into the stock market and how you should react on today's show. Plus, we'll answer a great question from Stacker Chris, who wonders about order of operations when it comes to withdrawing money from your retirement funds. Where should you begin and which accounts should you save for later? And of course, we'll share the TikTok minute, and I'll even go so far as to throw in some of my incredible trivia just because we really, really like you. And now, here are two guys proving that financial independence isn't a sprint, it's a shuffle with occasional snacks. It's Joe and O-G. That was so bad. Should I do that again? That was so bad.
Why?
I was out of breath at the word sprint, and all the rest of it was just...
You get out of breath thinking about sprinting.
Yeah. Makes me panic.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Doug is PHAT and FAT podcast. Such a great Wednesday. We're gonna have so much fun today. I knew OG today was gonna start out fun because I was downtown by our historic courthouse, which is half in Arkansas, half in Texas. It's one of the unique structures, government structures on Earth. In fact, when people come to Texarkana, if you come, you're going to want to take a picture out in front of it. But there was this wonderful Chinese couple there. They handed me their camera, which was really cool. I have no idea what they were saying, but I thought it was really nice of them. I thought it was super. Got today started off great.
Just got a free camera.
It was incredible. These people were amazing.
They know how to tourist. Like, that's what you should do, is go to somebody else's country and just give out free stuff.
Nice people over there. If there were more people in America like these people, then it'd be an even better place than it is. How are you this morning, OG?
Awesome.
Pause for effect.
It took him 30 seconds to figure out.
Awesome.
Wait a minute. Let me take the temperature. Yeah.
I was thinking of something to say. Just finished a Costco branded egg white egg cup, which are very delicious, I might add. Good protein in the morning and a Fairlife. So feeling pretty good. And a couple of omega.
I had a similarly nutritious meal. I had my nephews here a couple weeks ago and they left some Cocoa Puffs. So, Cocoa Puffs, egg whites.
Same thing.
Pretty same thing. Jesse, if you're listening, by Cocoa Puffs, I mean egg whites. That's specifically what I'm talking about.
With ground up Cocoa Puffs in them.
Yeah, just a little flavoring on it. If my diet coach is paying attention to the show. Man, we got a great show today. We're going to talk about this stock market because we hit a high watermark on December 16th at 607 for ticker symbol SPY. And as we record this, ticker symbol SPY trading at 581, down about 4%. And OG looks like he's pretty excited about the fact that it's down because he gets to back the truck up. We're going to find out exactly what you should do with this information. Plus a headline that Bitcoin also is down today.
More crypto.
Maybe because OG ranted about it on Monday.
He's definitely a market mover.
I'm sure that's what happened. That's why it's down. So we've got all that. But before that, we have a couple sponsors to make sure this show is free. So you don't have to pay for it. We're going to thank them and hear from them. And then we're into today's headline about financial markets on a roller coaster. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
Our headline today comes to us from Bloomberg. It is written by Emily Nicole. Emily writes, Bitcoin slumped to an almost 2-month low last week as investors dumped riskier assets following a sharp rise in bond yields. The original cryptocurrency dropped as much as 5.3% to $89,329. Last Monday, its lowest since November 18th and well below the peak of $108,316 it reached in December. Other crypto assets were down even more, with Ether and Solana down as much as 10%. Stronger than expected U.S. jobs data last Friday prompted traders to curtail bets that the Federal Reserve may cut interest rates again anytime soon, exacerbating an already choppy start to 2025. There's a lot to unpack here, OG, because the stock market down since mid-December, crypto's down since November. We're looking at this data. It's weird that Friday before last, the U.S. comes out with this U.S. jobs data, which is stellar. And all of a sudden everybody goes, oh my God, it's stellar. And it seems like everybody went into sale mode. Why would people be selling? Because more people have jobs. When I first think about that, I'm like, what are traders thinking here?
I don't have absolutely any idea. I don't understand why we would pay attention to the stock market fluctuations over the course of 30 days or 90 days or 60 days or any length of time shorter than 20 years. What do you gain by being freaked out about, oh my gosh, the S&P is down 5% or Bitcoin's down 10 or whatever? Like, what are you going to do differently about it? You thought it was a great idea when it went up a whole bunch in a short period of time. You love that kind of volatility. So when it goes down by a little bit in a short period of time, all of a sudden we don't like that kind of volatility. You don't get it both ways. If you're invested in an asset class that's going to bounce around a little bit, it bounces around. Like, you don't get to just have it bounce up. That's just not how it works. And if you look at your investment account and you're, having any sort of emotion, like not even, there should be no emotion whatsoever associated with your investment account. But if you're having some, just expand the time horizon a little bit. Just be like, well, I'm not going to look over the last month. I'm going to look over the last quarter. If that doesn't make you happy, look over the last 6 months. If that doesn't make you happy, look over the last year. And if you're not happy with a 22% return in the S&P over the last 12 months, I don't know what you're thinking about, because, everybody loves that, right? It's like, oh, we love the fact that it was up 20%. It's like, that's not normal. That is abnormal for it to have a 22% last 12 months. So guess what else is abnormal? For it to have minus 22%. Like, that also can happen. It's just part of the deal.
I love your focus on broadening the lens and looking longer term, because I think that, to your point, if I'm in the stock market, I don't want to be thinking about the short-term moves. I also think, there's a problem here with the media. And that is that the media develops.
Shocking. Wow. First TikTok is crazy, and now, hold on, the media?
Well, hold on. I mean, just think about
true,
this.
Joe. You're ruining my whole watching career. What do I do on my phone if I can't watch TikTok or NBC News? Oh my God. Oh, what do I do? Oh, I think partly the media's fault.
It is. No, it's not the media's fault. Hold with me for a second.
Okay. All right.
The media wants a narrative. And it's amazing how sometimes when you look at the stock market, we get data, right? And the stock market goes job growth, and we have a Fed move coming up, let's say, which is what they're talking about here. Oh, well, they shrugged it off because, they shrugged off the good news because there's this bad news. So on this particular day, the stock market decided, as if the stock market is a brain, the stock market decided that the bad news of this trumped the good news. And yet during more bullish markets, you and I have seen this, you could have those same two things. And what does the media say? The stock market shrugged off the fact that the Fed is not going to lower interest rates more because they were too busy applauding the fact that everybody's got jobs and we're about to see more money into the system. So there's got to be this narrative. I will tell you what does happen with traders that I think, frankly, a little bit here is true. You said, OG, that run-up that we had doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen very often. And what do I know that traders do? Not long-term investors like you, me, and our stacker community, but traders, they buy on speculation and they sell on the fact. So traders place a bet, and when the bet comes true, they sell. And so what do we have here at the start of the year? We got job growth where we want it. That's also impacts the Fed. You also have Bitcoin, which went up over 100,000. It was crazy on our Magic 8 Ball episode last Friday. We talked about how crazy it was, how much crypto went up last year.
Mm-hmm.
Traders sell on fact. When they get data, they go, okay, everybody else is going to panic. We're going to lock in our gain. And that's what I believe was happening. I believe that these short-term traders went, you know what? I've had this run-up that was unbelievable. I'm not a guy who's in there long-term. I'm in there short-term. I'm going to cha-ching the cash register while I can lock in these big, huge gains. Even with this little 4% drop I talked about that we had in the stock market over the past month, they had a monster gain. If you're a trader, you must think you're brilliant right now over the past couple of years.
I mean, it could be even less sexy than that. And there's a bunch of gains and you got to sell some to pay your taxes.
Could be that too.
I mean, if you made a whole bunch of money and it's tax time and now's the time to pay the piper on the tax season. I mean, it's completely useless to spend any amount of time and energy trying to unravel the day-to-day, like if this then type of scenarios. To your point,
what's the narrative? Do not try to figure out the narrative.
No, because I mean, and I don't have this handy, but I had a resource for this some time ago where it was like literally the same exact headline. CBS Money Watch used the same headline 2 days in a row. One was down 2%, one was up 2%. And it wasn't like they just didn't refresh the content. It was a different story, but the same headline. Like, oh, well, we don't have to change the headline. This fits both. You know what I mean? And to your point, the whole idea of financial news media, or any news for that point anymore, is really revolved around eyeballs. It's like, how do I get you to stay and listen and work yourself up into a tizzy so that I can sell you whatever the commercial is going to come up next? There's a great thinker. His name is Naval Ravikant, Naval, on Twitter. He's got some podcasts you can listen to. I think probably most famously, I shouldn't say that, but some good ones anyway, were on the Tim Ferriss show. He's been on a couple of those long form, 3-hour long interviews. And this guy's just a really good thinker. I mean, he's got a great take on media and how it's changed over the years from being the place where you'd get your news, right? You'd have to go home, and then the guy on the news channel would tell you what happened that day. And as the internet
had 2 or 3 choices.
Yeah. Tom Brokaw, Peter Jennings, or Dan Rather. Those 3 guys, one of those 3 guys, or, if you're older than that, Walter Cronkite and whoever the other people were. You had to see what happened. And when the advent of the internet came out and you could get information instantaneously, you didn't have to wait until 11:20 to find out the sports scores. You could just pull it up on the computer and find out the sports scores anytime you wanted. And so that turned into changing the business of news to be more dichotomous and more like, we need to have a reason for people to stay here. So, you can see that transition from it being fact-based, and people would say maybe even those people I mentioned weren't always even keeled, but at the end of the day, it was a little bit more level than I think everybody would say. If you watch the 3 different media channels now, you can kind of feel the bent on, what's happening. But it's more around advertising and sensationalism than it is on necessarily the information. So it's the same thing's true in the financial media. Like CNBC doesn't get paid unless you stay through the commercial. You know what I mean? Like they need you to watch the advertisement in between. So what do they say? Hey, after these messages, we'll tell you why this one trader thinks that the market's going to go down next week. Stay tuned. And you're like, oh, the market's going to go down next. Oh, I'll just hang out for a quick second. Yeah. Commercial. You know what I mean?
Surprise. And then it turns out that it's a U.S. Treasury manager.
TikTok influencer who's trying to tell you what crypto coins to buy. But none of this matters in your plan because this is part of the deal. When you think about it from a fact standpoint, like when you just kind of piece this together, we know that on average, so that means that sometimes it's more than this, and sometimes it's less than this. We know that on average, the stock market goes down 15% from its high water mark in a year. So whatever the highest point was to whatever the lowest point was, that drawdown intra-year is minus 15 on average. So if you're looking at your account and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm down 10%. You're not even to the average number yet. Oh my gosh, I'm down 14%. You're about average. Like that's an average normal ups and downs of a year. That doesn't mean it's going to average down for the year. I'm just saying like that roller coaster ride, right? And so until you get to that average number, like everything below that is you should pay. I can't even imagine why you'd want to pay it any attention. And so then you get to an average number, you go, oh, we're down 15. Now you go, oh, something's going on, right? Maybe this is different than average. So -4 in 30 days, like wake me up when it's down 20.
And I think because there's so much less data, in fact, there's very little data when it comes to crypto that will give you any tea leaves whatsoever, even for traders. When you look at crypto, seeing the volatility there just should be a even bigger part of the game, right? Volatility even more so. I think the people who might be new to the Stacking Benjamins universe are wondering right now, okay, if I'm not paying attention to this data and I'm looking long-term, what do we do? There is a thing that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago on our roundtable live from New York City, and it's called Investment Policy Statement. And I really like these, OG. I think at the start of the year, it's a great time to set up your investment policy statement. Can you explain to everybody what this thing is that you see pros use all the time? And we'd encourage all of our stackers to create one.
It doesn't have to be fancy. I think about it as just like the rules for what you're going to do when things don't go your way. It's generally pretty easy to invest when the market's going up. You feel pretty excited about it. And the downside of it going up is sometimes you can get a little speculative. But I think about it like the guardrails or the rules around here's what we're going to do when things don't go exactly as planned. And how often are we going to rebalance? And what sort of things are we going to own and not own? And it could like literally just be a few bullet points in a notebook. It could be on a sticky note. It doesn't have to be a 75-page document submitted for publication. It's just, here's what we do. We rebalance on my birthday once a year. Any new money we're going to use to invest and make our asset allocation get back to the way that we want it to be. Our asset allocation is going to look as follows. We're going to rebalance anytime our allocation drifts by more than X percent, whatever. We're going to invest in low cost passive ETFs or equivalent mutual funds if we need to. We're not going to own more than 10% of any of our net worth in, a single stock, like whatever rules you think you need to do. And the idea is that you think about that while things aren't crazy. Look at your estate plan, for example, and you sit down with your estate planning attorney and they go, well, what happens, if something bad happens, what do you want to have happen to the money? And you think about it and you go, oh gosh, that's crazy, but I guess I'd want this person to be in charge. And then you have this discussion, right? You have this reasonable discussion about who's in charge of what and what you want your kids to do and, all the rules, right? You think about it when you're somewhat level-headed. You can't run into the hospital room and go, Grandpa's about to go. Let's think about his estate plan right now. Like there's too much chaos. You're not going to get a good outcome. So the same thing is true when it comes to your investing. If you can sit down now and just say, all right, well, what are the things I'm going to invest in? This was a great example of something. I had a friend of mine who had brought to me a kind of a private equity thing some years ago. And as fate would have it, it was about investing in bourbon manufacturing. If you guys remember stuff from the bourbon world 3 years ago, it was like all the rage, right? It was like, oh my gosh, there's more drinkers of bourbon than there ever has been. And this is the cat's meow. And I just said, well, this is really interesting, but does this fit in your investment policy statement? So just that question, he's like, well, what's an IPO? We just talked about it. He goes, well, I guess if I was making rules, I really wouldn't invest a lot of money in something so speculative. It's okay. Well, then how much money would you want to invest in this? He's like, well, I guess none based on that. It's like, okay. So just yesterday, I saw in Apple News, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal that said bourbon is down like 30% in the last couple of years. It's cratering. And I sent him the link and I went, good thing we didn't buy a bourbon company, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Maybe that one's doing well. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, it just sets the stage for, well, if I'm going to do speculative investments, maybe I do want to do that. Maybe I do want to have some private equity or I want to do that. All right, cool. But what are the guardrails around it? How am I going to say yes to things and say no to things?
The piece that I like about it, OG, is that when you look at successful businesses, they don't just come up and everybody gets in a huddle and goes, okay, what are we going to do today? How's this going to work? Yeah. What's going to happen? And then they read the headline and they go, oh God, well, I guess it looks like the Fed's not going to do this thing. So we got to no, a successful business is policies and is standard operating procedure, right? Standard operating procedure is what they're going to use. And this is your standard operating procedure. So when things don't go your way, to your point, or you want to change things, or you want to pay attention to this news, instead of going, oh, what's the Fed going to do next? You go, okay, is it really relevant to my success what the Fed does? And you're allowed to answer yes or no. It is part of my success or it's not. And if it is, how am I going to respond to that? When am I going to respond? What's my standard operating procedure of the response that I have? So if you decide to respond to the stuff that we're telling you probably shouldn't, go for it. But at the very least, I think it gives you this working on the engine feel versus I wake up and, my Cocoa Puffs didn't sit right with me. So I'm going to all of a sudden sell everything because who knows what the Fed's going to do at the next meeting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's, you don't need much more proof of the long-term market efficacy than, pull up any Warren Buffett interview, like where he's talking about this stuff. I just saw one the other day where he's saying he bought his first 3 shares of stock for $100 and the S&P was at like 4 or 40 or some number.
Ridiculously low number.
Think about it. In 2009, Joe, what do you remember the S&P being at? I have a distinct memory of this because I think it's a little sinister, but what was the low point of the S&P March of 2009? Without looking it up. Don't look it up. Don't Google. What do you remember?
Yeah, so if we're sitting at just below 6,000 now, so yeah. I'm going to say 2,800.
Yeah, it was 660. 660 in March of 2009. Like what? That was on the heels of a minus 50, right? So it was 1,200 and went to 600 and everybody freaked out. You don't have to have that happen to you, but just a few times in your life where you look backwards and you go, well, let's see, that was a 10x return. Damn it, missed it. That was a 10x return. Damn it, missed it. Well, why would you not believe, based on all of the history that you know, why would you not believe that sometime in your kid's lifetime, I get that you don't believe it's going to happen in your lifetime again, but it's got to happen in your kids, right? So How do you not believe in your kid's lifetime?
Was that just an offhanded old guy joke?
No, not at all. I'm saying we look at things and we go, when things go up or things go down, we look at it and we go, we get it, right? It'll come back, but not in my lifetime.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay, cool. You look and you go, yeah, I get it. That's back then. It went up 10x and then it went up 10x. Oh, I get it. It happened twice already. It's not going to happen again in my lifetime. Do you think it might happen in your kid's lifetime? If you knew with a very high degree of certainty that the S&P was going to be at 60,000 at one point in time, like how much money would you invest today?
You used a phrase there also, I think, that is a phrase that I've had difficulty with my entire career because I hear it from investors over and over and over. And OG, I've never found a time when this paid. And that was then. These are the new rules, right? Yeah. How many times have we seen the new rules? And the new rules always go bye-bye. And we revert back to the same old rules over and over and over. So if for some reason you think this time is different, it's an even bigger reason to have an investment policy statement because the odds are not in your favor.
Yeah, this is not Hunger Games.
Not at all. We can all win here. We don't have to put everybody in an arena and we go after each other.
I was going to say that the odds in your favor is a line from Hunger Games, right? May the odds be ever in your favor.
Let's put all those TikTok crypto influencers we were talking about on Monday and put them in an arena together.
That we should do.
Hunger Games.
And then we can take over all their TikTok channels.
Perfect.
Make some meme coins. Picking up what I'm laying down.
Some of that basement coin.
Hashtag basement coin.
Get you a guaranteed 86% rate of return.
860%. You're off by a factor of 10.
Oh, I screwed up. Yes, we had to have a specific return and no expertise in the area. We're perfect for this. This is awesome. You know what? We dive into topics even deeper than we did today. And our newsletter, the 201, it comes for free every week, stackingbenjamins.com/201. We also give you some special episodes of the 201 like we did last week. And when we come to town, it's also the way we communicate that we're on our way. And I'll be coming to Seattle on February 6th for a meetup. I will have that location shortly, but mark your calendar. And on February 8th, I'll be at Retire Meet with our friends from the Talking Real Money podcast all day, along with Apollo
Creed.
Lepescu.
Apollo Creed? Yes, please.
Yeah, Apollo Creed. Wow. Apollo Lepescu, along with fictional characters Apollo Creed and Katniss Everdeen.
And Apollo from Magnum P.I. He was one of the Dobermans.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Magnum P.I.
Yeah. Wow. That was a pull right there, too. Fantastic.
Zeus and Apollo.
Yes. Yeah. And all the Apollo mission astronauts. All the Apollos. But Apollo Lepescu from Dimensional Funds, Paul Merriman will be there. And yours truly, talk about what the happiest retirees know. All right. One more thing to do before we get to Doug's trivia. Time for our TikTok minute. Well, you know what?
Sweet.
We're not going to do. Yes, we will. We'll do the TikTok minute now. Let's do this.
An honorarium.
I don't even know if TikTok's a thing or not anymore. So this is actually a Facebook reel. And OG, we heard on Monday how you feel about TikTok. I shouldn't even ask him because I think he went after all social media. Doug, do you think we're about to hear brilliance or air quotes brilliance?
I mean, you already know, Joe, I get all of my education from social media. So I think this is going to be amazing. I love it. Can't get enough of it.
On a podcast that I enjoy from time to time called Smartless, Will Ferrell was on and he was talking about the new year and he had some things that he was thinking about for the new year. And one of them, I think, specifically applies to our show.
Start of the year, so I thought I'd read my New Year's resolutions. Stop saying pun unintended.
That's a good note.
Because I love puns. Yeah. And whenever I use it, I mean it. Right. I really want to commit this year to referring to all money/cash as cheese or cheddar. And $100 bills as blue cheese. Pretty much.
I think we need to rename this then, the Blue Cheese Podcast. Welcome to the Blue Cheese Podcast.
Yeah.
All this cheddar coming people's way just because you got an investment policy statement. And it works. It absolutely works. Coming up later, we are going to help a stacker with a big question about order of operations on his retirement money. Where should the funds come from? That's always fun. And I love this topic. We haven't talked about this in a while. But before we get to that, I think, Doug, you have some little piece of history for us.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's date, Sam Cooke was born.
Oh.
Yeah, amazing singer, right? And Sam and I
Never heard of him.
have so much... Don't know much about history, right? That guy.
Oh.
Sam and I have so much in common because I don't know much about history.
True.
I don't know much about biology. And on that note, really, does anyone know what a slide rule is for? It seriously makes my head spin around just thinking about it. Speaking of head spinning, today is also the birthday of Linda Blair.
Oh,
See? That's how you do segues, Joe. That's how you do segues. She played a young girl whose head spun all the way around in a horror movie that not only won 2 Academy Awards back in 1974, but also cha-chinged the cash register for years and years. Here's today's question in honor of this year's Academy Awards being announced tomorrow and Linda Blair's birthday. What's the name of this horror classic? I'll be back right after I find out exactly what grade I got in that French I took.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada?
Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in house plants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, the guy who doesn't know much about history, biology, or why Joe's mom keeps threatening me with a slide rule. I mean, seriously, what is that thing? It's definitely not for sliding on anything fun, like down a water slide. Just thinking about it makes my head spin. Speaking of head spinning, today is Linda Blair's birthday. I did it again.
So good.
So good, had to do it twice. She played a young girl in a terrifying movie that made heads spin, literally. This horror classic not only won 2 Academy Awards back in 1974, but also grossed an incredible $441 million worldwide, making it the first horror movie to be nominated for Best Picture. Another fun fact, if you adjust that for inflation, Joe, it's the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
Wow.
So here's my question again. What was the name of this iconic film? It was The Exorcist. Oh, and those 2 Academy Awards, they were for Best Sound and Best Adapted Screenplay. Not bad for a movie with enough pea soup and head spinning to make even me feel queasy. And there you have it. Now, if you'll just excuse me, I'm off to figure out why Joe's mom's fridge smells like something straight out of The Exorcist. So back to O and Joe G. Back to O and Joe G. I'm terrified.
That's how the pros do it.
I'm so terrified thinking about that movie. I can't even speakify.
Afraid of that movie or afraid of the fridge because it reeks. I don't know what's going on in there, but there's something going on. So thanks for solving that mystery for us.
Tuna salad.
OG, big fan of The Exorcist.
It's been so long since I've watched it. I can't
That's
say.
worth a rewatch. It's just, I mean, yeah, it's horrifying and there are some incredibly terrifying imagery, but the story and the
Just
way
a
it's
good
built,
movie.
it's just a good movie. It really is.
Yeah, and that movie came out at that time. That is when Barry Diller and Michael Eisner, when they were working together at Paramount, came out with this idea of, hey, if a movie does really well, we'll do a sequel. So this was kind of the birth of sequel movies.
Early sequel.
True story. I don't know if, Doug, you may know this, but United Artists owned the rights to The Exorcist. So they went to Peter Blatty, the creator, and said, hey, we need to do an Exorcist 2. And Peter Blatty said, oh, hell no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And UA said, yes, we are, because we own the rights. And so they made this awful, awful movie.
So bad.
That is The Exorcist 2. And then a movie that most people didn't watch because Exorcist 2 was so bad. Peter Blatty went to them and he said, okay, if I was going to make a sequel, which I wasn't going to make a sequel until you completely angered me, I would have done this. And he came out with Exorcist 3,
right?
Which
Quite
is
some years later.
Not as good as Exorcist 1, but man, a return to form. Exorcist 3 is a...
Since we're on the fun fact train, do you know how he got the money to originally write the book?
From the Catholic Church. That would have been great.
That would have been a great answer. That answer is almost better than the real one. He was on a game show hosted by Groucho Marx called You Bet Your Life in the 50s, and he won $10,000. And Groucho asked him, what are you going to do with the money? And he said, I'll probably take some time off to write a novel.
And he wrote The Exorcist. How about that? There's a piece of trivia I didn't know.
Didn't know take some time off to write a novel.
Isn't that what Doug says every time he hits up the bathroom?
I go to the bathroom.
I gotta go write a novel.
Like, hey guys, I gotta go take some time to write a novel.
I thought that was a euphemism. Hey, time for us to help a stacker who said, you know what? I better call Saul, C-Hi, and OG. On this segment of the show, we answer a call from help from a member of our community. And today we got a great question. This one comes from stacker Chris from Georgia. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Joe and OG. Quick question for you. In what order should I tap my retirement funds? Most advice I've found is to withdraw taxable accounts first, then the tax-deferred accounts second, and then Roth accounts last. I get the reasoning of giving your tax advantage accounts time to grow and compound, but what if you are an IRA millionaire with no Roth accounts? I have twice as much in my taxable accounts than in tax-deferred. I've got no idea what the tax rates will be in the future, as no one can predict what Congress might do. That includes taxing Roth accounts at a lower rate, possibly. So I'm not inclined to do a Roth conversion and pay taxes now. Does it make sense to pay estimated taxes from the deferred accounts to cover 100% of the tax burden of the taxable accounts, thereby depleting the tax time bond that's awaiting me when RMDs kick in? My thinking is that should I pass, at least the taxable accounts should get a step up in basis, while the tax-deferred accounts would need to be depleted in 10 years. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Oh, and Doug, boiler up.
There we go. Man, did he save it right at the end, because I was in a kerfuffle at the beginning when he didn't acknowledge me, but nice job, Chris.
Doug, just like Cooper in Mom's Basement, wants to be acknowledged. Like, he just wants you to acknowledge him, and then he's off doing his own thing. But Chris, nice save there at the end. But OG, this is a great question because he's got no money in Roth accounts, says he's not really interested in the Roth conversions, and really doesn't like this one-size-fits-all advice that you just hear from people out there to defer. Where does he go?
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you don't want the generic advice, you have to like work on a specific plans, specific for yourself. But apologies in advance, this can be kind of generic because we don't know a lot about all the other circumstances that go into this decision. But I would give a little pushback on I don't want to do Roth conversions because, to his point around, I don't know what the tax rates are going to be. You may want to consider paying your IRA taxes at the lowest rate possible. So let's say, for example, he has $500,000 in a brokerage account and $1.5 million in an IRA, right? And the conventional wisdom is spend all your 500, let the $1.5 million grow. And he's doing the proverbial 4%, right? So he's living on 80 grand a year. what he might choose to do is, while his tax rates are low for the first few years of taking money from his brokerage account, living on dividends and that sort of thing, maybe do a little bit of a Roth conversion so that he's using up maybe that 12% bracket, or, maybe touching the 22% bracket of IRA conversions. If your income's zero, you can convert $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 at a pretty low rate and still be okay with Social Security taxes, still be okay with Medicare. The risk that he's talking about, of course, is what if they decide to tax Roth conversions in the future? Stretch, but it could happen.
There's still no downside, though.
Well, if he got double taxed, it could be, right? If he pays the tax to the convert, his point is, if I pay taxes to convert it and then they decide to tax it again, then I might as well have just left it in my Roth. And I get that. But you could also say, well, I can take this money at 12% and use that as my first, that's my first money when I run out of brokerage money. It's about developing flexibility into the future for whatever happens. And now at the end of the day, if you only have two buckets to draw from and they're not even, you're going to run out of one before the other, unless you, in all likelihood. So at some point, it just kind of is what it is, but if you're looking at it into the next 5 to 10 years and you've got a little bit of a runway, you can start setting up another bucket, a third bucket there potentially with Roth, to say, well, maybe I'm going to have a little bit here just in case, I need it in the future.
Yeah, I like the idea of Roth conversions as well, only because of the fact that he's taking advantage of exactly what he said he wants to take advantage of, which is, I don't know where tax rates are going to be in the future. Well, then why wouldn't I pull out as much money at that lowest bracket? I don't want to go into the next bracket, but if I've got extra room above what I'm spending in this current bracket, and then I can just flip it into the Roth, I'm with you. It could happen. We've only seen one time where people weren't, quote, grandfathered in to a scenario, and that was in the 1980s. And that was around oil exploration and some of these limited partnership opportunities. That's the only one I know of. I've never seen it happen.
Yeah, and if you look at what they're doing, the excess contributions, if you make so much money, it's got to be Roth. The government is very much focused on getting tax money in today and less focused on worrying about tax money into the future. That doesn't mean that they're not going to change it in the future. And I understand, hey, if you're 60, you still got 2/3 of your life left or 1/3 of your life left where they're like,
you were just about to give Chris some really good news.
Yeah, you've got like 5 presidential cycles, 10 congressional. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? Like, I get that. But I feel like, to your point, there'd be some grace, and there's no rule that says you have to have that be your last dollar. You could say, well, this is my money for 2032. That's a much, much closer pull from, than saying, well, I'm going to defer this for, till the end of time. So your options are somewhat limited as you have just one or two different buckets. But I would encourage you to, from a juxtaposed position here, I'd encourage you to run a scenario of what happens if my IRA does continue to grow, give it some growth rate, and then say, well, what is my required distribution going to be in those future years, assuming that I don't touch it? Right? If I don't do any Roth conversions, if I've got $1 million and I let it sit there for the next 15 years, because I don't need to touch it, until I'm 75 when the government says I have to, what's that account going to be worth and what are those RMDs? And then decide, do I want to have a little bit more control over that right now and get money, if nothing else, out of the RMD world, right? Like, think about if all of a sudden you have a $3 million IRA, your required distribution year one's $100,000. That changes the taxability of your Social Security. It changes the taxability of, or not taxability, but it increases your Medicare premiums, in the subsequent years. Like, there's some downstream effects to just having a tax return that says, congratulations, you're a 1%er. It's like, well, I don't feel like it. I'm being forced to do this. It's like, well, tough. You know what I mean? So even if you just regain some control over the timing of that income, even if, God forbid, they tax you a little bit, I bet you can make a case for why having some flexibility there will make you feel better.
This is where our tax control triangle comes in, where we look at tax flexibility versus tax optimization. I agree totally, Chris, that when you try to optimize for today, which is what that very generic, let it grow, let it grow, let it grow, it creates problems. OG, to your point, can create some really, really big problems, compounding problems because of the fact that you optimize just for today. To get the tax control triangle, we have that available for free. It's stackingbenjamins.com/tax triangle. Just go to that page and you can download that. And that's on us because we think that's something everybody needs to know about to manage your money better. Thanks for the call, Chris. And if you've got a question for OG, head to stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail. And that's the link to have OG and I tackle your question here at the end of our Wednesday shows. And you know what? For doing that, we also throw in some Stacking Benjamin swag for doing it. So, Chris, we got some swag headed your way. You'll get to go pick out which one you like best. And thanks for calling in. And what a great question. Doug?
Joe?
Time for us to mosey out to the back porch, my friend.
Are we just saying names we know? OG?
I thought you were going to say something. You had this look on your face, and then I was like, okay, is it coming? And it didn't come. So I went on with it. What's going on the back porch?
Well, we've still got lots of travel plans going on. You're still headed out to the, Northern California or no, Pacific Northwest, right? You're going to meet a whole bunch of people in Seattle. OG and I are headed out to Lake Tahoe, cross state lines, probably break some state and federal rules in that region. I'm sure.
Plan.
Transporting things across state lines.
I don't know what we're even referring to.
I don't know, but it's an option, right? We're going to be right there. Like, I just want to do it just because it'll be a little risky.
I'm going to make a last call, by the way, for the book club Q&A tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5 p.m. Pacific. If you're interested in learning more about what this 10-week course walking through my book Stacked and building your financial plan is all about, it's stackingbenjamins.com/info session, or go to our YouTube page. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific tonight. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, when we put this out, some more praise from people that did this last year. Genro, I was skeptical if this class would be helpful to me or not, but decided to give it a try. Turned out to be a great decision. I've improved my budgeting skills and mindset, but the best part was the part on investing. I think the changes I made will really be helpful down the road as I'm better diversified and have lowered my fees too. Ready for whatever financial storm's headed my way. That's Jen. And we had a lot of fun. It's a small group experience. We go 10 weeks through lessons from my book Stacked. stackingbenjamins.com/book club is where to go to learn about it or to just sign up. But if you want to go to the information session tonight, it's stackingbenjamins.com/info session.
Joe,
right.
Can we have an info session about the show and then make the URL info show?
I think we have to. I think we're contractually obligated to do that now.
Show.
Doug, what are the big takeaways from today's episode?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from OG. Don't make short-term decisions with long-term money. That'll always bite you in a really bad place. Second, order of operations for taking money out of your IRAs. That'll depend on how much you have in different corners of the tax triangle. Use tax brackets as your friend to make good decisions today that will spill into great decisions for later as well. But the big lesson? Don't talk to Joe's mom about manufacturing numbers. I did that earlier and she ranted on and on about nothing's made in the USA anymore. In fact, then she pointed to her TV and she's like, see, even my TV isn't made here. On the back, it says built-in antenna. Where the hell is antenna? I had to shake my head at her.
So good.
Not that good.
Come on. Nothing's made in the USA anymore. My TV says it's made in an antenna. Nothing from Josh.
I don't get it.
I hope we keep all of that in. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2025, and is created by Joe Saul-Seehide. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
I found something online that might remind me.
Even though it said that your state senators are not allowing this to be displayed in your state?
That I got.
You found that online?
I don't know that we want to know that, any of that about you, but hey, this is, this just reminds me of some people I work with.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions. Let's talk about restaurants. Would you be willing to wait for a really good restaurant a half hour, or would you just eat somewhere kind of crappy because you could get in right away?
What do you think? The look on people's faces when they wait in line is like, it's just, are you going to eat or to stand quietly?
Have you ever uttered the phrase, get off my lawn?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I've said, but I didn't mean like old man, like, get off my lawn. I meant more like, this is my property, so get off my lawn.
I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. You have early onset grumpiness.
What?
Early onset grumpiness, EOG. You're going to begin to enjoy fewer and fewer things in your life. You'll be saying things like, who are these people?
Who are those people? It's a real question.
The only reason you leave the house is to see classic old movies, and even then you'll say, it had some good parts, but all in all, it was fairly uneven. You're very young to have EOG. Your life is going to change forever.
Is there anything I can do?
Normally we try meds, but you're too young for them.
You seem kind of grumpy. Are you a grump?
Yeah, but I'm a very old man. I'm 83. I'm sorry. I'll notify your family.
That's Begley Jr. I think he is. Is he 83?
He's maybe not that old, but he's old. Yeah.
He's up there.
But this goes back to, I don't know how he didn't catch on, but we said OG stands for original grump.
All those things reminded me of OG until he got to the classic movies, and then it turned into Doug. Then it was totally
what?
Well, I just thought it was uneven. It was pretty good, but it was uneven.
You think that's me and not you?
That's totally you. That's 100% you.
I don't even watch classic old
movies. Says
movies.
the guy who knows all the. Oh, you guys probably saw this obscure movie that's the 5th nominated for best sound design from the
Libyan director.
From the Bolivian Oscars, right? Listen to it; it's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's not at all uneven.
But it's uneven.
But I'm the guy who's apparently the movie critic.
Get off my podcast.